South Carolina Governor Kristi Noem joins us now, and we're going to turn around some of these sound bites from that insane press conference we just witnessed, where the president almost looked like he was going to jump across and hit somebody for asking him a question. And I think he's reserving a little something special for the special counsel Robert Hur, who just said to the American people that the president has issues mentally.
So after Joe Biden's press conference last night, right-wing media pounced. And they were so eager to start hitting the president that they didn't make time for a little fact-checking of their own. Remember, the issue in question is Joe Biden's ability to remember things, to not make little mix-ups, little slip-ups. What state was she the governor of there, Jesse Waters? South Carolina? That's interesting. Notice, by the way, he didn't realize he'd made the mistake. It's South Dakota. She didn't even seem to notice. She didn't correct him, certainly. You see how that works? When someone who you're not trying to defeat politically makes a slip up, you just let it slide by. But when it's Joe Biden, obviously it's a much bigger deal. So they're moving on, and Sean Hannity, literally while talking about Joe Biden last night, butchered both the first and last name of the leader of Germany, the same sort of thing that he critiques Joe Biden on. So it's a thing that happens when you talk. You make slip-ups. I'm at some point, I'm sure, going to do that through the course of this video, but it is still an issue because regardless of their own failings in this area, they're going to hit Joe Biden on this. And it's not just the media. Spokesperson for the Make America Great Again Inc. said, if you're too senile to stand trial, then you're too senile to be president. Joe Biden is unfit to lead this nation. You see, what he's doing there is the same thing that Fox and Friends did this morning. The report does not say that he was not competent to stand trial or senile to stand trial. It only speculated about what juries might think about him being like a nice old man, but that's not good enough for an ad. So they've made up this thing that he's not competent to stand trial. And so you'll hear that literally hundreds of times over the next few months. It's not true. And Donald Trump, he decided to weigh in. So he posted this. You'll notice, oh, see, he's gonna, oh, it's Mexico, but it's really Egypt. It's the thing that Joe Biden did. And see, look, it's tough if you're Joe Biden, but Trump gets to do this because he has never made a mistake like that. He's never mixed up like the borders of a place or anything. Do you see where I'm going with this? Well, he once talked about Hungary's border with Russia, doesn't have one. But in his defense, he also thought that Viktor Orban was the leader of Turkey rather than Hungary. So I guess if you don't know the leader, you probably don't know its geographic position. And I want you to buckle up because I've decided to scroll down some other ones that some of the hits. Let's see, he mixed up Nikki Haley and Nancy Pelosi repeatedly. Multiple times. Or, hey, remember when he talked about Revolutionary War troops taking over airports? That's a little bit more concerning about the Mexico-Egypt thing. I think we can all agree. Let's see, or when he was in Iowa and he thought he was in South Dakota, he literally didn't know what state he was in. Or when he said that Biden could potentially plunge the world into World War II. Which I think is cool. I like sci-fi, I like time travel. Or when he confused Jeb and George Bush, or when he confused the leaders of China and North Korea, one of whom, by the way, you'll recall, he exchanged love letters with, and yet he couldn't remember the guy's name. That's a little bit cold, actually. Or when he mixed up Biden and Obama 7 different times in speeches and rallies, or the times he's tried to pronounce words and wasn't able to. Words like beautiful, or tax cuts, or climate. And rather than just copying to the fact that he made a mistake, he pretended that that's what he meant to say. That he said climb instead of climate and then tried to make it a thing rather than just owning up to the fact that he made a little bit of a verbal problem. Remember when he recalled the tragic attacks in New York City of 7-Eleven? Do you recall that? He was there when it happened and he mixed it up with a convenience store. Or, and this is one of the funniest, most petty ones, when he was sitting at a desk and the CEO of Apple, Tim Cook, was there and he called him Tim Apple, which is like something a stupid AI would do, or maybe a puppy if it was capable of speaking. That's the guy who's weighing in on the state of Joe Biden's mind. We could go on, but I'm happy with the current state of things. Sharon, I want to start with you. What do you think about the right-wing reaction to all this?
Well, number one, I could use a Slurpee, and now I want a Slurpee, and I'm sorry to be distracted like that. Look, the red hat people don't want to talk about any of your examples. They don't want to hear any of your examples. They just want to tighten their hats and keep going. And I think this about the reaction: when the truth fails, you go with the lie. And the lie sounds pretty good if you're going to be a liar, because juries are sympathetic to old men, unless they hate them and they want to hit them with an $83 million judgment. So I mean, the reaction is as expected. Go with the lie. The truth has failed us.
Listen, I as funny as all of this is, and it is hilarious, the tragic part is a large swath of American population will add this to the fact that they don't believe in America's institution. Hur should be disbarred for what he just sold as it pertains to distrust in American institution. He should have put out a legal document that stated the facts. The facts is this is nothing we can prosecute, right? And we should have left it at that. Now, what he's done though is throw red meat to a ferocious group of folk on the right, including Fox News, who will run with this, like you said, until the election. The tragic part about it is while they're doing this, while they're behaving in this manner, tearing down America's democracy in a real way, so much so that we can't even use it to motivate or animate voters to go to the poll because democracy is at threat, because we've burned that bridge. So we are sitting here now dealing with the fact that Hur, not a psychiatrist, not a mental expert, has put his opinion on Joe Biden, and we're missing the facts so much that we didn't talk about that we spent as much money as Sharon mentioned earlier on a report to find out what we already knew. There was no intent here, no legal intent, only to throw a lob ball to Donald Trump, the right-wing media, and also all of these people who don't trust our institutions, so much so that America will not look like a democracy by the end of this election cycle.
I think, Sharon, you might have actually been onto something with the tightening of the hat, because I'm thinking that might actually be a prerequisite for simultaneously believing that Joe Biden is so utterly incompetent that he can't remember literally anything, even about his own life. And at the same time, he's behind the scenes rigging elections. Hell, he's rigging the Super Bowl just to benefit Taylor Swift. It is weird that they can think both of those same things simultaneously.
The rigging the Super Bowl thing is so hilarious to me, especially since Biden turned down the opportunity to politicize the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. It's tradition in this country where American presidents are interviewed right before the Super Bowl, softball interviews by a reporter or a journalist that they choose, so that they start off the Super Bowl in that manner. He's turned that down twice so people could just sit back and drink their beers and be so-called proud Americans, whereas Donald Trump took every advantage he could to stand in front of football fans to do nothing but make America great again. And I'm still trying to figure out what that great again means when this is the time where most Americans, or the most Americans ever, had as much liberty that they have right now. So I'm thinking this make America great again is a synonymous with make America for white people only again.
Wow.
Feels like that from time to time. I want to turn briefly from Donald Trump to the other Republicans still hanging on to win this thing. Nikki Haley, here's what she had to say.
It is unbelievably disturbing that they are showing that they see Biden to not have a good memory, that they see him as diminished, that they see that it's a problem, and they point blank say that. I mean, this is actually dangerous. I mean, I have said, look, people make fun of the fact that I say we need to have mental competency tests. There's a reason 70% of Americans don't want to see a Biden-Trump rematch. The party that gets rid of their 80-year-old candidate is going to be the party that wins.
That is Nikki Haley, strong words. Kind of a glass house. I mean, after all, she's not 80 and she doesn't remember why the Civil War was fought. So, we all have little gaps in our memory, but it's not just her. Other Republicans pouncing on the special counsel's report, including a joint statement from Speaker Mike Johnson and a bunch of other Republicans in congressional Republican leadership saying, among the most disturbing parts of this report is the special counsel's justification for not recommending charges, namely that the president's memory had such significant limitations that he could not convince a jury that the president held a mental state of willfulness that a serious felony requires. They're of course leaving off that the special counsel also says there's no evidence that he was willingly committing the crime in the first place and he actively participated in giving the documents back and sat for 2 days worth of interviews. But they go on to say a man too incapable of being held accountable for mishandling classified information is certainly unfit for the Oval Office. But again, man, those glass houses, they'll sneak up on you. Hey, Mike Johnson, remember when like a month ago you were talking about how bad the situation at the border was and how we needed a bill to fix it, and then Donald Trump tweeted something and you suddenly forgot everything that you'd ever said on the subject before? To be fair, it's going around. Virtually every Republican in the Senate and the House is guilty of the same little memory problem. But Mondale, I want to go to you. This will be the last that we say on this, but Nikki Haley, she's coming at this from a slightly different angle in that she wants to hit Biden, but she's also hitting Trump. So I guess that's a little more fair. What do you think?
I think it lacks luster and also integrity, right? This is a woman who said she took a pledge to vote for whoever the Republican nominee is, knowing that they were talking about Trump. So Trump and all of his attacks on her, her family, her real name, she's still willing to vote for him, right? The fact that he is dangerous, she's still willing to vote for him. Also, we should not breeze over the fact that this woman on 2 occasions has basically said the Confederate exists for Southern rights and not to keep black people into slavery, right? So these are not small things, especially knowing that the reason her family was able to have a livelihood in South Carolina was because of HBCUs and black people. So the fact that she lived off the money her father made from black people as customers, and then she tried to say in South Carolina in an interview with the Confederate, the Sons of Confederate, that the Confederacy deserves its own month like Black History, or exact word, if Black History is a month, then the Confederacy should have a month, is absolutely dastard to me. And it also says that this woman does not have the ability in her young age to pass a mental competency test. Look at me losing my mind.
Yeah, you're good, Mayor. You're good. Can I just say this? Nikki Haley should take an American history competence test. She's already failed it, so we know what the result of that would be. Remember when Don Lemon said that she was past her prime and how outraged she was? She fundraised off of it and everything. He said she's past her prime. She's too old. And now she's speaking on these ages and all this other stuff. It is a mess. And yes, everyone's forgetting a lot of recent history. Mike Johnson doesn't remember that they wanted Ukraine funding tied to the border, okay? The former wrestling coach, you know his name? He said, you know what? I want Hunter Biden hit with dodging a subpoena. He's in contempt. The same former wrestling coach who did that, remember? So this whole thing is a mess, and they should all shut up and tell me what you're gonna do for the country. That'll be a short conversation, won't it? Or will you forgotten all of the talking points then?
Their minds will certainly be blank in response to that.
If you enjoyed this video, that's because of our members. They make us independent, they make us strong, and they make us honest. Become a member today by hitting the join button below.